All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Green White Checker TV. Tonight we have the Area 51 Dark Horse series here tonight at Texas Motor Speedway. This is going to be race number 10 of 12, so just two more to go after tonight. And after tonight, it will be Loudon, New Hampshire, followed by the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So kind of two kind of flat ovals, if you will, but of course racing very, very differently for those final two races after tonight. And right now, as things stand, it's showing Bruno Miranda as the 24-point lead over Nick DeGroot, 44 over Nick Stouffer, and then Craig Forsyth, Matt Wagner, 75 and 77 out respectively. So really, to me, probably a two-horse race. Well, we'll have to kind of wait and see on that. But tonight, we'll have a 125-lap event here at Texas. Here in fuel window, probably in the low to mid 40 range. So pending it going green, and I kind of mentioned earlier on, I think turn 2 is going to be the trouble turn, so probably going to see some action there. So two stops on fuel if we go green, I say. But again, I have a feeling that we're going to probably see at least a couple, just from how difficult, I should say, turn 2 is. So we'll be definitely keeping an eye on that one here this evening. So right now at the moment, I say drivers still putting down their qualifying laps, still got a little bit of time to go. Say my original broadcast partner's having some weather issues, which is affecting his internet, so don't know if Andrew Wood's going to be able to make it tonight or not. However, I was able to wrangle in pull some family strings and get my brother in here, so quite appreciate you hopping on here short notice. And yeah, say another mile and a half one. They've been a little wild here. Las Vegas last week, and it was a wild one over there. Matt Wagner pulling off the win with some fuel strategy, and then kind of cautions getting him into that fuel window. And yeah, so I think Texas is going to be a very tricky one. Just the way turn one's a little bit of that slower turn, the way it exits off out of 2, the way it flattens out, and then of course 3 and 4 should be the keyword. Pretty much flat foot for all the drivers, just trying to find that cleaner on the front wing as they go through that 3 and 4 complex with the reconfigured track here.
Yeah, it's funny how we call these cookie cutter tracks, but they all race pretty differently. And yeah, looking at the practice, turn 2 is going to be a problem. Maybe not yellows every time, but I think people are going to damage wheels and have to come make unscheduled pit stops. And you're going to lose 2.5 laps just by doing that, I think.
Yeah, and then of course pit road as well is always the danger spot too, where if you try to short pit, you always put yourself at risk of getting trapped a lap down at these tracks, and with as difficult as it is to get on and off a pit road with these cars. So there's going to be a lot for these drivers to kind of have to play with and figure out, to feel out kind of what's going to work for them. Right now, it looks like we've had about 14 of our, I think about 24, 25 drivers so far. Great field, I need to mention as well. So appreciate all the drivers turning out for tonight. Looks like now up to about 16 drivers putting down a lap time so far in this one. So yeah, no, it's going to be a challenge, I think, though, tonight. And yeah, like I said, I think turn 2 is going to be where I'm going to have a lot of attention trying to focus on, just because I think that's where things are going to happen. So we got just a little bit more time left in practice or qualifying. I'm sorry. I believe pretty much anybody who's on a lap will not be able to finish those laps out. So I think we've pretty much got the grid here just about sorted. Just wait for it to switch sessions over to the race session. And the other thing to mention is track temperatures will kind of progressively drop as the race goes on. Right now showing about 5:30 p.m. track time. 110 degrees track temperature. Actually, no, let me rephrase. 95 degrees track temperature just changed on me. And so, yeah, and you can see it there on the ticker here. I'll see if I can pull it back up if it readjusts it. No, it still says 110, but right now showing 95 degree track temperature. However, qualifying has just completed. So let's go and pull up our starting grid for tonight's event. And it is going to be Gary Laverne on pole position in that 32. Craig Forsyth second by 1/1000th of a second. Matt Wagner third. Eric Schaus, Bruno Miranda, our defending champion. Bruno in fifth. Yari Brupacher, Nick DeGroot, Edson Santos, Chris Stouffer, and Sheridan Wade are top 10. Then you got Jim Herrick as well with Sheridan. Sorry, I'm trying to fix some things. Jim Herrick, not Sheridan Wade. Nate Fields next to him in 12th. Dan Murrah, Andrew McMurray, Michael Carrillo, Seth Groover, AJ Hobson, and Alan Moreira. Those are drivers finishing out the qualifying laps, and then from here on, these drivers opting not to qualify. Raphael Eckert, Eric Peterson, William Swenson, Brad Adams, Bill Colley, and Taylor Reeves. So it's like 24 drivers here tonight that will be taking part in this race. Still got a few left to finish gridding up, but then we'll get things underway here in just a moment. Believe this may be the first pole position for Gary Laverne, so a great lap for him there in that 32. I said Craig Forsyth probably just blinked and just enough to prevent him from getting pole in that number 99. And again, looking at the points and everything like that. So Bruno, our championship leader entering tonight, will start 5th. Looking for Nick DeGroot in the 89. He will start 7th. So actually they'll be nose to tail there. So that'll be a good group to keep an eye on as well. And then a little and then Chris Stouffer's the other one to watch in the 13, and he'll be starting in so he'll be 9th. So actually going to line up pretty nicely here together with the championship leader in the 1, the 89, and the 13 will be all on that bottom row here as the field starts to roll off for the warm-up lap.
Yeah, a lot of the usual suspects out in front. Be interesting to see how aggressive they want to race this early on, because obviously tires will become a factor if you push things too hard and heat up that right front.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the big part of it is trying to keep those tires in check, and I mean it was Las Vegas. It seemed like it really mattered about the tire wear and everything. So we'll keep an eye on that. Looks like, we got all 24 drivers have just rolled off of pit. Actually, no, I'm lying. 22 drivers rolled off pit road. Eric Peterson and Taylor Reeves, not seeing them on track, unfortunately. So right now, 22 cars actually on grid. So we'll keep an eye out on those guys. We'll see hopefully Eric able to hop in here in a little bit in the 36, and Taylor Reeves as well in the 34.
I think we need to keep an eye on Matt Wagner. He may try some fuel strategy since he was rewarded for doing it last week. He's in good position to save a few drops and maybe go a little bit long.
Yeah, and I think that's the way to go. I mean that's the way I prefer always doing it. So we'll see though. We're gonna switch it over. Take a look at our starter cam. Initial start always on the green flag, and from then on the field the leader controls it. And right off the bat, Eric Schaus wasting no time. Looked like a little bit of hiccups on a few of those drivers either ready to go or not ready to go. As we're going to kick off 3 wide here into turn 1 for the first time, as these drivers wasting no time. So there's your answer about taking it easy on tires. They're right at it right off the get go.
Yeah, almost 4 wide for a moment. And yeah, so much for saving fuel. I think Matt wants to go to the front.
Yeah, I mean, and there's also the strategy. Clean air is definitely king here. And we mentioned, C1 just kissed the wall there. I think was that Chris Stouffer? No, I don't think it was. It couldn't quite catch the car. I say also may have been Edson Santos. Not 100% sure. Couldn't quite tell who it was, but definitely a little solid contact. And that is also one to watch. Though is that the tri-oval there is just it's easy to kind of catch that turn. Actually, a little bit of smoke there through 3 and 4. Not sure if someone had a moment and saved it. I'm going to say yes, because we got a separation in the field here. We got about 2 seconds back from the main pack to Seth Gruber here. So I think there was definitely somebody had a moment there early on, but able to, looks like, keep the car pointing straight. No caution. Another one I think just caught the wall once more off of turn number 2. This time I think it was Christopher there. So again, that's the trouble turn, I think. But yeah, so like I was trying to mention though, Quabi, is I think clean air for Matt might be more important right now than the saving fuel here. So because again, you're going to see how much these guys spread out through the turns, and like I said, out of 2, and it's just next time what we'll do is we'll actually switch to that turn 2 exit camera, and you can just see how many cars are probably going to struggle on the exit there.
Yeah, I mean, being out in front looks like it's a big advantage in clean air, but also you're avoiding any kind of trouble and not having that aero push. So yeah, Matt knows what he's doing. Here's the view.
Yeah, so here's out of turn 2. We'll see so far a few just flirting with it there. But yeah, these guys did pretty well. Here's the second pack, C1. Nope, everybody's done well there. So they knew I was watching, so they're going to be well behaved there. But no, and that's the thing though, is and of course as the tires wear, it's going to probably get a little tighter as the run goes on. drivers are going to have to make those adjustments. And again, these cars have a lot of onboard adjustments, even with it being a fixed set of bleed. As I was watching Craig, there's almost rim riding it. But you can adjust the weight jacker, you can adjust the front and rear ARBs, all these things to make the car drive better, either in clean air and dirty air, and you can kind of adjust them on the fly. So that said, though, while we've been watching that, though, Bruno Miranda, again, he's missed the last couple of races. I say he's ready to get back after this thing. He is ready to fight, try to see if he can get the lead of this race. Looks like he's going to work the outside of turn number 1. Oh, Craig, just a little kiss to the outside wall there. Hopefully that'll not be too hard of a hit there. But yeah, these guys are definitely struggling. As mentioning that, I say Bruno now in the lead.
Yeah, Bruno made a strong move to the outside, and it made it stick. I don't think Matt fought it too hard, but he didn't let him by.
No, and that's the thing, is some of these guys just really able to find the right adjustments, the right balance in these cars, and that's what sets some of these guys kind of just apart. And the other, of course, thing is maybe short-term pace versus long-term pace. So maybe Bruno's, again, maybe being a little more aggressive. Same thing, trying to get that clean air, have the track position. But again, like, I'm never going to count out a Nick DeGroot type of a driver, because right now I feel like Nick is probably just trying to manage his stuff and then start to turn the wick up as everybody else. For his sake, say he's hoping that they'll start to struggle in the long run, and that's where he can kind of make his ground. Because again, we're only about a quarter of the way through the first fuel run here. Again, these drivers saying they can go probably in the low to mid 40s. Of course, Craig this time bigger hit through the tri-oval. Again, hangs on to it, but man, I was all focused on turn number 2 exit. These drivers are actually, when they run that second lane quad, it looks like they're just kind of catching that outside wall through the tri-oval, just again because of how just kind of sharp and quick it cuts in.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised by that. I mean, yeah, it can be tricky, especially if you're up high. And if you have someone below, you don't want to pinch them down and get pushed into the wall.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, last week at Las Vegas, there was a lot of net coding for those that maybe aren't aware of what net code is. And I think Craig definitely probably feeling the effects of those hits, because I think that car looks a little tighter than usual. But basically, you may have a few feet, you may have a car width from a car between you and the car next to you, but basically the collision detection basically thinks that there was contact, and unfortunately sometimes it is beneficial for you, sometimes unfortunately it really, really hurts your race. And we saw a little bit of both of that last night, but there was definitely some significant difficulties with the net code for these drivers, and hopefully that isn't the case here tonight. But right now, though, Matt Wagner's trying to get back to the front.
Yeah, and Matt's putting himself in a position where if there is net code, he would be the one that gets punished for it. But they're giving each other a good amount of room, and Bruno's just getting good exits and get alongside.
Yeah, I think that's where the benefit of, like you said, kind of just the clean air, and also for Matt, I mean, yes, he's running, maybe trying to get the point, but also if he stays in the tire tracks of Bruno, he's just going to be getting all that dirty air. So now what he's doing here, running that second, third lanes, is he's getting a lot of clean air on the front wing of his car. I think that second lane also might even help that car rotate a little better versus having kind of keep it pinned down to the bottom. Whereas right now I feel like with Bruno, he's probably having to kind of keep that car a little more wheel input through the turns and off the exit as well. So to me, this long run wise, I feel like this is going to actually hurt Bruno's tires a little more than Matt as we just cross lap 15.
Yeah, that's a good point. But despite that, they are stretching things out a little bit. So even though I wouldn't say they're fully fighting, but I think Matt's running over the line where he doesn't have to push the car down so much, carrying speed. They're not slingshotting, and it's still less of a gap now, but they're pulling a gap.
Yeah, and I'm saying this is probably a tough track to do that slingshot draft, like you mentioned, just because of how quick everything kind of comes on. And I also do wonder if now maybe Matt's turned that wick down a little bit, trying to back the field numbers down a little bit. And I kind of feel that's the same for Yari here in the 49 and third now. I think Yari's probably just kind of playing it easy, taking his time, and just staying in a nice little pocket where he can still get a lot of draft. He hasn't had a lot of pressure from behind him. What I have noticed is we do have a bit of a top 6 breakaway. And we mentioned again the contact for Craig we've seen, and it's starting to stack up a little bit behind him here, and I'm not sure if that's again maybe from his damage or what it may be, but I mean he's about 1.2 seconds from those cars in front, And usually about 1.5 or so, I've always found is kind of the magic number with these cars where you start to pick up the draft. So some of the guys behind him, like right now, Sheridan Wade looking to the inside, AJ Hobson, Eric Schaus, some of these guys might start to get a little antsy, not wanting to stay behind him, not risk losing the draft for these cars up in front, because at that point you're going to start breaking up into even smaller and smaller packs. So I will be curious to see how aggressive maybe some of these guys are going to be to try to get around Craig, which right now I do think Sheridan's trying to find a way around. But Craig's just running just fast enough, basically, and able to. I mean, he's holding his line, he's not blocking or anything like that. It's just he's able to just run his pace, and it's enough to hold these guys at bay for now.
Yeah, exactly. They may not be aware that Craig has some potential damage, but I think Sheridan needs a little bit of help to make the move, and he finally got it. His previous laps, the other guys were staying on Craig.
Yeah, I say, but the problem now is with that battling what they were doing, they're now a little over 2 seconds back of Chris Stouffer now, who's the last car in that pack. I mentioned also maybe at some point we see Nick DeGroot kind of maybe trying to ease in his tires and then go after it. Now he's worked his way up into that 4th position. Now with Gary Laverne right behind him. So yeah, so right now it's about a 2.3 second breakaway from these top 6 to that 7th place car of Sheridan Wade. And then like I said, this is a really packed up group right now as well, from Sheridan all the way back to Edson Santos in that 20 car. And then it starts to space out a little bit. Everybody starts to kind of string out just a little bit. Alan Marrero, Jim Herrick a little further back. Dan Marrero, Nate Fields, like these guys are all kind of starting to space out a little bit more. And then you go up, as I said, caution is out. Oh, there it is on the... Oh, I think that was... Oh, man, we got a huge wreck. We got more cars piling into this wreck, unfortunately, afterwards. Craig was one of those involved. So, oh, no, I'm sorry. That was not Craig, actually. I apologize. I thought I saw his car in there. But, man, we've got a big one here out of turn 4.
Yeah, there's some messed up cars. Looks like at least one car took a tow.
So we're going to try to go hunt this back down because I said we were focusing on a little bit further back. And it looks like I think it's actually from the front pack here. So we'll start up here up front here. And I just saw Gary. Oh, I think we're gonna see it probably right around this group here. We'll watch as they come through 3 and 4. So we can get a better look at it. And I think we're gonna see it right here.
A little netcode.
A little bit of netcode. Gary was underneath of Christopher, but according to iRacing, they were basically hitting each other, and oh my goodness, that just launches Gary there, and that's probably the car you saw take a tow there. And then unfortunately, again, like we're running super slow-mo right now, so take that for account. And now here comes all these other cars trying to find a way through, and there's the initial contact for the first group. Then you see Eric Schaus a little further back. He's trying to figure out where does he need to position his car to get on by, which he does. But then unfortunately, just a little further back here, yeah, so this is where just everybody's you kind of go in blind a little bit, and then again, you've got a lot of speed going through. And so you see Michael Carrillo there involved, Bill Colley, also who's that? Alan Marrero there. It looks like he may have just gone for a bit of a slide, but definitely a number of cars involved. You see actually the 55 and the 29 actually get kind of stuck together here. They're trying to get unhooked here as I say, and Alan just stops, waits for him to get it squared away, and then he rolls out too. So good job by Alan being patient on that one. But yeah, unfortunately, a pretty big wreck there. As we were watching that, the drivers already hit pit road, got service done to their cars. So we'll step away for a moment, and we'll come back here on the one to go. So stay tuned.
4D Racewear, makers of the ultimate sim racing shoes and custom apparel designed for sim racing by sim racers. 4D racing shoes are engineered to connect racers to the pedals in a way no other racing shoe can, all the while giving you the comfort needed to complete those double and triple stints. Visit 4dracewear.com and check out the latest sim racing products that let you connect to your sim.
as you can see, the lights are off of the pace car. Matt Wagner gets back to the lead here after the pit stop cycle. Nick DeGroot jumps up now into second. Yari Brubacher, Sheridan Wayne, and Bruno Miranda. Bruno dropping a few spots under the pit road cycle there. So I'm not sure if maybe just from where he started the race, maybe there's some other, if I missed something, maybe overshot his pit stall or not. But looks like we had a couple longer pit stops. The 21 Alan Morera as well as Nate Fields had a little lengthier stops. Sometimes those will be for manual replacement of front wings or even rear wings potentially. So that could be the case for those two drivers. And again, probably a handful of drivers that had to take wave rounds, or sorry, not wave rounds, take tows. So I believe we have a few drivers trapped a lap down. Looks like Gary Laverne is 2 laps down at the moment. And I think everybody else actually is able to still somehow hang on to the lead lap there. So right now, Gary, the only driver trapped 2 down now with that. So now, yeah, Quabi, so back to the restart here. So again, initial start always on green. You see everybody starting to file their way up to the very, very top here through 3 and 4. That's because Matt Wagner has control of this restart. Now we're going to flip it over to our starter cam. We can watch him and and so this is where you always have to watch out for these accordion effects on the restart. Hopefully everybody minds their P's and Q's, and Matt's down and away. And there you see the flag go, and it looks like everybody's done a good job here. No running into the back of each other, so we're back to green here, starting lap 26 of 125.
Yeah, bad luck for a pole sitter. But this race is long enough. He could get back in the lead lap and still compete. So just needs a little bit of luck on his side. And I think, we got 20-something laps in before the first yellow. We may see that pattern repeat.
Yeah, exactly right. As I was about halfway through the field run, see Nick DeGroot wasting no time. I think Nick wants to get that lap lead in the 89, get that bonus point. He knows that Bruno's already had one, so he wants to try to get that as well, kind of knock that off his list. Get those bonus points to then be able to basically kind of be on par, if you will, with Bruno for that. And then, of course, then the net goal afterwards is to try to just finish ahead of him in the race. Ideally, win the race, get max points. But at the line, I don't know if he got it. I think Matt may have just jumped him at the line there. So I say Matt not rolling over for Nick trying to get bonus points here. He's going to stay after it.
Yeah, Nick and Yari both putting their left sides in the grass, and then the dog makes me a little bit nervous.
Yeah, it's usually not a great combo. You see now, let's say once again here, Nick's going to have the run. This time I think he will definitely hold the spot. Yes, he will. There you can see. So Nick officially does lead a lap there. And also right now, again, not a huge breakaway, but again, about a 5-car breakaway. As right now, Edson Santos now has actually gotten around Craig Forsyth for the 6th position. So we'll keep an eye on those guys. Actually, saw one spinning off down the back. And I think he hung onto it. I think that was Alan Morera potentially.
Yeah, that was a hard hit, but he kept it underneath him. Yeah, I think the car will be a little bit messed up then.
Yeah, probably will. As a lot of times when you have that, I mean, there's obviously the potential wheel damage, but then there's also as well just the car usually gets really, really tight after a situation like that. And so I do wonder for Craig, for example, if he may have not taken that fast repair, maybe said, hey, you know what? There's still a lot of racing left to go. I can hold on well enough in the draft. So maybe that's what his goal is right now. So again, I can't say for sure. I don't know what his strategy is. The other thought, though, too, is, again, we pitted at about lap 22, went back to green coming to 26. So if you want to be really aggressive, Quabi, you'd have to go 50 laps each run, basically, to be able to make it to the end on fuel on one stop to the end. So that could be something we see some of these drivers maybe try to pull a really long fuel run. What I was about to mention those, now Raphael Eckert getting around Craig. Now you got those two teammates, though, the 20 and the 064 now running in 6th and 7th together. Right now Raphael getting 12 spots from his starting position. So, yeah, I'll be curious to see if maybe this is a strategy call. Is it maybe just the damage and just the car still not handling well? Because, with Craig, you can never tell.
Yeah, it's a fair point. Although I think he would want to stay in touch with his front group, get fuel saving benefits, especially if anyone's going to be trying to go 50 laps. They're going to need some aero help.
Ooh, a little bit of. I saw a little piece of wing fly off. I think again we talked about net code. I think that piece of wing probably came back, but right now again shows you how tight these guys are running right now. And again, we mentioned Sheridan Wade, I believe, was involved in that previous incident. Not 100% sure if it was he or his teammate Nate Fields. They kind of run inverted sister schemes, if you will. But I'll say right now, Sheridan, though, is making some big moves now up into that 2nd spot.
Yeah, I'm really skeptical that anyone can make it 50 laps. I mean, I think we know Matt probably would try. If you were out there, you would try. But that's just a long way to go, especially with this to yell at them.
Yeah, no, exactly right. I'll say, unfortunately, I would spy on Craig and see what he's doing, but unfortunately, I'll say with this one, you can see right here that those 6 squares on the bottom, those would tell us everything we would need to know. Unfortunately, as a spectator, you don't get to see them, so you don't see the front rear ARBs, the fuel maps, and all those things. So, however, in the car, Craig sees all these things as he's driving. So he knows exactly what he's doing, mile per gallon per lap, what fuel map he's in, and of course his adjustments and all that. So, it gets tight there out of turn 2. I'm almost thinking he may have tried to limp this, maybe limping this damage along till further on in the race. But, or like I said, or maybe he's just going all in on the fuel mileage. We'll have to wait and see. Still a long ways to go to get to that point.
Yeah, but he keeps scaring the wall in turn 2. He's already done more than scared a couple times. So I'm thinking the former guess is probably what's going on. He just needs to stay off that wall, and apparently, I'm sure he did some repairs in the pit stop. If he did a fast repair, doesn't look like it helped him much.
Yeah, so these cars definitely not like the Xfinity trucks that we see on the super speedway side of things. They're a little harder to really get good repairs done on. As Sheridan Wade just flirting with the wall there off of 2. I think he was trying to cut underneath Nick DeGroot, then got the dirty air, and at that point you're just kind of along for the ride, unfortunately. And I look at my timing and scoring, I see a couple cars making some really big gains here. And so I think just drivers kind of jumping around a little bit for a moment. So I was just making sure everything was good. But it looks like everybody is still in packing. So yeah, so right now, like talk about the Quabi, kind of about 3 or so packs starting to form once again. You got this top pack here with the top 8 from Nick to Eric. Then you got to go about a second back to now Jim Herrick and Craig Forsyth. And it looks like Alan Mara is actually starting to pull himself back into this group as well. And I don't know, I always feel like Alan is a really good long run driver. So he's always one I try to watch over the course of the long runs. And again, we believe we saw him hit the wall a little bit out of 2. And then, like you said, kind of went way down the track. But it looks like his car's hanging on okay pretty decently at the moment. So hopefully not too much harm and foul there.
Yeah, Herrick and his group, if they hustle right now, they can bridge back up to that front group, but it's pretty close.
Yeah, and I think it looks like I think Herrick's actually already got back up there, and that's kind of, again, I do wonder, like, these guys get by Craig, they pull back up to the main pack, and I feel like kind of, again, it could be damage or not, but I feel like Craig is just kind of just letting these guys pull him along, and again, maybe saving fuel, maybe just, again, kind of nursing some damage. We're not sure, but I will be very interested to see if we see anybody get to, again, if they get to that lap like 75 or so number. I mean, obviously that'll be the telltale then. What we expect to see most drivers probably around in the mid upper 60s, I would say, is probably when we'll really realistically see them. So yeah, these guys that are saving might have to go, again, probably an extra probably 5+ laps than some of these other drivers that probably can't make it on one stop.
Yeah, if it is strategy, it's pretty brave. Run lean and let other people drag you back to the front. Great way to save fuel, but also risky to stay with the pack.
Yeah, and saying a little bit, we'll also be able to get a little bit of additional insight. Looks like I'm blanking on the names now. There we go. Andrew Wood. Say Andrew's going to hopefully be hopping back on here. I guess the internet has finally sorted itself out, so he'll be able to give us again, I feel like Quabi, we're kind of the rookies on the open wheel cars. Let's say that's where he kind of knows his business with these guys, so we can definitely quiz him a little bit. But the other car I'm noticing that kind of fell off this main pack, that's Matt Wagner. I say he's fallen a fair chunk back here as well. So again, not sure if it's, like you said, if there was something to watch for fuel strategy, he could have been one as well. Early on, he seemed like he was going full aggressive. We did see at one point there was a little bit of close racing where we saw a piece of wing fly off and then kind of come back. Not sure if he was maybe involved in that, so maybe there is a little wrinkle to one of his front wings or end plates or something like that may be affecting the handling. But again, you never know with these guys. They're very, very wily, very tricky on what their strategies are going to be. So you really can never count any of them out for the strategy. And right now, I feel like they're just letting Nick kind of be the Pied Piper and just like, yeah, you burn your fuel, Nick. Go ahead.
Yeah, although Nick is in the best position. If no one can make it and Nick gets to keep running in front in clean air, he's having the best time. But like I said, we'll find out shortly. Matt is he's a little bit far off, but he hasn't lost touch yet. So I think he's still in good shape, especially if he's in fuel save mode and not in damage control mode.
Yeah, exactly right. I say Alan's trying to work him over right now to get into that 8th position, but and I'm saying that's the thing is right now, honestly, we're all just guessing right now what the strategies are going to be to see what's going to be the potential right call. And again, what will happen though is at some point once the first set of pit stops happen, again at this point looking likely like it'll be Nick DeGroot to kick off the pit stop sequence. That's when all those guys start to sweat bullets because you're probably going to get put at least a lap down here at these 1.5 mile tracks. That track like Indianapolis, Pocono, you can actually short pit there and stay on the lead lap, and that becomes a really viable option for race strategy. It's a lot riskier here at the 1.5 miles, especially, of course, here, the 2 mile ovals of like a Michigan and Auto Club. I think you still get trapped a lap down there just because, again, how fast they're running. But when you get to the 2.5 miles of those other tracks, that's where it kind of opens up a little bit.
Yeah, and while that's going on, Laverne's still trapped 2 laps down, waiting for some yellows to get him back into contention. And everyone's running pretty clean. We had a few wall scares, but no crashes.
Yeah, and that's the other part for Gary now is when this pit stop cycle starts to happen, that's where he's going to be like, all right, hopefully I'm saying Gary, what he needs to be doing is hopefully saving fuel as well in the 32 car, because the leaders are about a backstretch away from starting to catch some of these other cars like the 29 of Michael Correa, William Swenson. So at some point, there's going to potentially be cars kind of put in between the two of them. But while we were watching that, though, Edson Santos, we got Nate Fields has trouble. The 55 caution is out. And there was turn 2, Quabi. That is exactly what happened there. He's had to take a tow. And that is exactly what this man right there was hoping to see. Never want to hope for bad luck for another driver, but at the same time, sometimes that's your only opportunity to get back in the field. So this should give Gary one of his 2 laps back. Let's go back. Let's take a look to see what happened to Nate here. But again, I think it's turn 2, though. It's going to bite another one. And what we'll do this time is we'll watch off the back of turn 2, and we'll get a good look at it here. We're going to be focusing on that pink car in the middle. And you can already see that car just tracking out way wider than he wants to. Again, it looks like just dirty air from that blue car in front. Catches the outside wall, and then from there, that thing just goes straight to the inside wall. And that's about as hard as you can hit there. And then at that point, you see the car just kind of the car gets stuck into the inside wall. And then at that point, honestly, that's where then iRacing decides to throw the yellow in. So caution back out here.
Now, would Gary stay out, you think, and try to get a wave around?
No, so what they've done here is with the way that they've made some adjustments for the normal IndyCar approach, Gary would have to stay out to then get waved around. But actually, he, like in the super speedway side of things, he actually does get a free pass here, so he can stay out here. You'll see him drive around the pace car in just a moment, and then he can actually pit and get service. So it's actually, I'd say it's really nice for Gary because he doesn't wind up being off sequence or anything. And as you see there, he goes now. So going from that 2 down to 1 down left in here, as we see the field all hitting pit road. Matt Wagner now hitting his stall, looking for. Oh, there's Bruno. So I was trying to remember who our pole sitters were, but it looks like Edson Santos going to win the race off pit road. So getting the job done there in the pits to take the point. So while they finish their pit stops and everything cycles around, we'll step away one more time, and we'll be back here on the one to go. Stay tuned.
4D Racewear, makers of the ultimate sim racing shoes and custom apparel designed for sim racing by sim racers. 4D racing shoes are engineered to connect racers to the pedals in a way no other racing shoe can, all the while giving you the comfort needed to complete those double and triple stints. Visit 4dracewear.com and check out the latest sim racing products that let you connect to your sim.
All right, as you can see, lights are off of the pace car. We have still 19 drivers on the lead lap. Gary Laverne, just mentioned him. He is back to 1 lap down now in that number 32 machine. Unfortunately, we do have some early retirements, including Nate Fields and AJ Hobson. And then we mentioned Taylor Reeves, Eric Peterson not able to make the grid, and it doesn't look like they were able to hop back on. So fuel question now, that's pretty much out the window from here. It is definitely going to be one stop to the end. It would have been fun to see, like we were talking off air, it's kind of been fun to see if someone was trying to work that fuel mileage. Maybe we'll get a top 3 interview with a Matt or a Craig and we can ask. But at this point now, really, I don't think there's any fuel saving needing to be done except for maybe just wanting to pit a few laps later in case of a caution during a potential green flag pit stop. So I think at this point, things are kind of going to open up a little bit, and we're going to watch this restart here. We're going to shoot off the back of Edson Santos, and you can hear and see when he jumps, and then you'll see that reaction from these guys behind him.
Yeah, from now, the strategy is go fast and get to the front. That's a lot of laps to do that, though.
Yeah, still a long, long ways to go. Like you said, only lap 57 now of 125, so not quite halfway through this one. Looks like, again, a nice clean start through the fields. You see everybody spread out by just a couple of car lengths. And then the way the draft works in these cars is they pull right back up to them, give about a half lap to lap, and then these guys will be right on tow with each other. So, as I said, quick caution here out, and it looks like, who's that involved? I thought I saw the 76 car, Brad Adams, involved in this one. Not sure if anybody else involved. That's some definitely some rear wing damage. We'll have to keep an eye out for the 32. Is he able to get through clean? Because he might have been able to get back on the lead lap in quick succession here. But let's go back here. We're going to focus on Brad Adams and see if we can find what happens. I already see a couple cars pointing up a little higher. I'm a little worried about Seth Groover and that orange and black car in the background there. So that car is already pointing way up to the top here. Oh, yeah, he catches the wall pretty decently. And then it looks like maybe a checkup by the 76, maybe worried about hitting the wall. And unfortunately, I think it was Michael Carrillo getting into the back of him. And yeah, I think looks like Gary's going to get through that clean. So I'm going to back it up one more time here to try to get a better look to see what exactly happened. I say it may have just been one of those things coming off of 2 where maybe just felt like there was maybe a bit of was maybe trending. Yeah, look how wide he is. I think he's worried about catching the wall there, and so I think his pace checks up, and then behind him just isn't ready for that big of a speed difference. Again, these guys are all still building speed as this is all happening, and so unfortunately, quick contact, caution back out here. So we'll jump back full speed and go back live. We'll find our man Gary Laverne, and we should see him make a turn to the right, I would presume, and pass all these cars to get back onto the lead lap.
Yeah, a lot of things happening out of turn 2 there. And you kind of wonder if people didn't have their settings right for the restart. There he goes.
Yeah, so you saw Gary there get a little nervous the first car he was trying to pass there, but now he's going to have plenty of room. You can see he's definitely playing it safe as he works through here. And so also you can see, this is also nice for you to see though, on the dash there, you see that flashing yellow lights. That does pop on all the drivers' dashes. Also, obviously, in IndyCar as well. When the caution comes out, that pops on as well. So just little extra things to kind of help drivers be aware of what's happening when. But strategy-wise, probably not a lot changed here on that one. It looks like we had William Swenson in the 69 on back. These guys all pitted. So the 69, the 31, all pitted. Brad Adams, we just obviously mentioned he had to pit there basically, he just had to pit due to the damage he had to get repaired. And then Seth Groover on pit road as well. So, yeah, so I'll say I'm a little surprised none of the other front runners at least maybe try to do a little splash. Just again, I mean, if I'm towards the back half of the group, I mean, I think I would have come in there and just, again, you might be able to pit there a few more laps further out than the other guys, but maybe just with it being a restart lap, they said, that's not enough.
Yeah, I think staying out's the answer. I mean, we've seen how the field has split to 2 to 3 groups. And if you're in one of the groups behind, you really can't do anything to catch a group in front. So it's a risk to pit. Yeah, you get some benefit on the back end, but you lose track position and you might lose just straight time.
Yeah, and that is also, again, with the single file restarts too, the further back you go, the little bit more stressful it winds up being. And so I'll say we definitely I have to do a little bit of gratuitous attention. So pull up that number 30. Sorry, pull up the 02 car, I should say, of Seth Greer for Mama to watch. I say she's used to watching her boys on the super speedway side of things, but Seth's kind of working on trying to find some other things as well. So getting familiar with these open wheel cars. I'd say he was there at Las Vegas last week as well, and right now I'd say it's still sitting in 15th here tonight. But again, if you're on the lead lap, you got a chance in these things. So it'll be fun to see how Seth's able to adjust over the course of the race. And also mentioned as the evening wears on, Quabi has now track time. It is sitting at about, waiting for the cars to go through so I can see my clock, 6:10 p.m. track time here, and the track temperature has dropped to 91 degrees. So it's going to start to grip up a little better for these guys, which might help them out as well.
Yeah, we'll see if it's enough to keep people off the wall. I mean, the way the cars are pushing, I think there's not going to be enough grip to change it, at least for this evening. But I think right now, as people start running harder and harder, we're going to see more wall hits and potentially more yellows, which could result in a really frantic finish.
Yeah, and of course, once you get to the kind of the second half of the race, which we're just about to get there, I think basically one lap after the restart will be the halfway point. Here's where we're going to start 61 right now. 63 should be halfway if my bad math is correct. And so, yeah, and that's the other thing too, is when you start getting to that point, these guys will again start to get a little antsier, like, okay, I want to get that track position back and all those kinds of things. And so a little more risks maybe being taken from some drivers in that point of the race. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it goes. Obviously in this first half or so, we've only had 3 yellows for 12 laps. So honestly, not that bad. With this tricky, especially, I mean, again, turn 2 to me has been definitely the scariest spot. So these guys are going to have to, again, make some adjustments, and be curious to see who's got what left kind of in their pocket for maybe some strategy.
Well, congrats on the good math. Public school treated you pretty well, I guess. But yeah, still one pit stop to do. It's I think you will see some people try to run long because the caution seems inevitable. The question really is, will we get to the pit stops before that caution flies? I'd love to see a green flag pit stop, but that could also breed its own caution with how tricky the entry is with the speed of these cars.
Yeah, they're usually pretty terrifying. So once again, you can see right now Nick DeGroot is ready to go. He's right on the rear wing, but Edson drops the gear and he is down and away. And at that point, again, everybody just has to try to react in time. And it looks like, again, so far a great restart. All these guys are able to get through the gears clean. I'll say last time we had trouble out of turn number 2, so let's go ahead and switch over the turn 2 exit as they come through. See if everybody's able to keep it clean here, and we can see most of these cars are able to hold it nice and tight down to the bottom. And yeah, so first time through 1 and 2, again, everybody's good to go. But now, let's say turn 3, I feel like cold tires, full of fuel, these cars are going to start to get a little sketchy in 3. But Nick DeGroot, though, he wants to take advantage here, going straight to the front as he's going to take the lead back from Edson.
Yeah, Nick wasting no time getting into that clean air, and I have a feeling we're going to see him fighting to stay in that position for the rest of the race.
Yes, and this is where I think Nick wants to be. Is he wants to try to and it looks like, again, we saw that earlier as well. I think it was from Bruno. He wants to kind of hug this white line as we do just now cross halfway point. But yeah, I think he wants to hug this white line where they can usually get away with it a little further.
Yeah, so the front 4 kind of separated themselves a little bit. I think if they keep racing this way, the next cars will creep their way back in. But they need to be running hard in 5th place and beyond. Otherwise, they might see the top 4 down the road.
Yeah, Sheridan's dropped about 9/10 off, but I say that you'll see that ticker start to go back the right way, and actually pretty quickly there as he entered turn number 1. And yeah, like we talked about, that 1.5 second mark, that's usually the magic number for the draft window. So right now the whole field is still within the draft of each other. Everybody's able to hang on. But man, right now though, I think Edson's working really hard here, trying to see if he can find a way to maybe try to either kind of do an over-under on Nick or just do something to get Nick off his comfort zone. But while he's done that though, that's now allowed Bruno to sneak into that inside lane. But yeah, you see right there, Nick wasting no time. He exited high, but as soon as Bruno had any sort of run, he'd cut it right back to the bottom. So let's watch off the back here, off the back, this factory back to motorsports car of Nick DeGroot. You can just watch how these guys are trying to just kind of jump around and find their way around.
Yeah, unfortunately for the cars behind, the high line isn't really the answer. We've seen one pass on the high so far, and that's the only one I can think of. I'm afraid they have to take the hard way around and get past Nick at this point.
Yeah, no, and the thing is, at some point, it's like we talked about with Edson too. Before the first yellow was he was kind of hugging the bottom. Maybe that was going to work his tires a little bit harder. Whereas again with Edson now, he's able to keep that wheel opened up a little bit. And right there, you saw Bruno. He was in the worst spot you could be, behind dirty air from that car of Nick DeGroot, and then pinned to the inside line.
Yeah, from this vantage point, you can see that it looks like the top 7 or 8 are pretty well in line, and then there's a little bit of gap. He gets alongside again.
Yeah, I think that's going to be what Edson has to do. Is he has to find a way to get far enough alongside entering turn 1. And again, it's going to be that risk versus reward though, Quabi. Ooh, saw a big group there behind there with Craig Forsyth. Yeah, these guys are kind of going at it here too. They got these 4 cars right now just all lined up on top of each other pretty much. Raphael Ecker, Andrew McMurray's there. Who else is in there? Christopher's in that mix as well. So I say these guys are all having a really good fight here as well, just outside the top 10 at the moment. Well, a couple are top 10, a couple are just outside top 10. Oh man, Raphael is flirting with the wall there out of 2. But yeah, I think for Edson though, he's doing what he's doing right here. He's kind of staying wide, cuts it down, picks up a big toe off of Nick, and then tries to run the top side. But I think actually now he's going to play a little bit of defense, it looks like, because I think Bruno running that third lane was actually making him a little bit worried. But Lucas popped in the mix here, Quabi. We talked about him just a little bit earlier on, but now Alan Moreira's worked his way up all the way up into the top 5 here right off the bat. So it's again almost going 3 wide here with the top 3. So right now he's actually got a pretty good view of this fight in front of him.
Yeah, they're mixing it up pretty well. Keep giving each other good room, so I think they're going to keep off each other. Net code willing. But yeah, he's in great position. Like, this is about the time you want to be in the top 5. And well, we still have a little bit of time before pit window opens, another 15 laps or so.
Yeah, and that's going to be the next question. And actually, that's bring in Andrew on this one with our pro open wheeler here. All right, Andrew, so we know everybody's good to go to the end on one more stop of fuel here. It's obviously a risk versus reward here, short pitting at the 1.5-mile tracks. We haven't got to a green flag pit stop yet due to some cautions, maybe about halfway through, a little over halfway through the fuel run. Do you consider short pitting to maybe try to give yourself some clean air to work here at Texas, or do you say, I got to go as long as I humanly can because I do not want to get trapped a lap down here?
Yeah, Kyle, good to be here. Had some issues before, but here I am, and happy to be with you tonight. Yeah, these 1.5-mile ovals tend to be a little bit strange with the strategy. A short pit can definitely help you out if you feel like you need to actually make a fuel number. If it's staying out will help you make the fuel number, but if it makes it sound like that the guys are able to make it, then I think staying out is probably the best thing, because you're going to stay in the draft. People that are around, especially these guys who are up front and staying in the draft, you're going to run faster lap times, especially with a lower fuel tank. So I think it's actually going to be helpful to stay out as long as everybody else stays out. But once these guys start to peel off, I think they're going to be a little uncertain with how they stand. So I think they're going to all stay out as long as they possibly can, just in case they get trapped by yellow of some sort.
Yeah, it'll be fun to see, and I do agree with you. I think I'd be doing the same, as running as far as I can. As this top 4 battle has gotten wild. Nick's going to go big move there from top to bottom. He's going to get back to the point entering turn 1.
Yeah, that was a wild move he did down the front straightaway. Very risky, trying to get to the inside, but looks like the track conditions right now are favorable to run the white line on the bottom. And if those guys can stay on the white line, then it's going to be very tough to try and pass them down the line.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. Is they've been pretty much, the leaders have been trying to, I think, live in the white line. Something Quabi and I mentioned earlier was, even though obviously the white line, you get the clean air and all that, I feel like you still have to have a little bit of extra wheel input in the wheel to kind of hold it down there. So that's where, like, you see Edson right now running that second lane, able to maybe open the wheel up a little more because he's still got clean air on the front wing of his car. I mean, do you think over time that's actually going to maybe hurt Nick more, having to hold the bottom as tight as he is just to protect it? Or But that's something Quab and I were talking earlier. We feel like running that white line is probably going to wear the tires out just a little bit more than opening it up a little bit on exits.
Yeah, the right side tires are really taking a beating if you're holding it down to the white line, but it all depends on how packed up this race is, and you can see that the top 9 right now are completely packed up, and if the guys are able to hold the bottom, it's going to be very, very difficult to try and get a run. But we did see Nick move from 4th to 1st in that one corner a couple laps ago, so I think that's actually going to be something to think about towards the end of the race. In terms of making the fuel strategy, it gets to be a little bit tricky, especially when you get towards the end of the race, and you have to actually figure out where your lines are going to be for the last few laps.
I think I heard a one car check up a bunch there. I went to try to see what it was. I think where I like to be right now, it's kind of where Craig Forsyth is, where you're in the main pack here, or even maybe even Andrew McMurray, Jim Herrick. You're in the main pack, but you've got some wiggle room because I don't know if we're going to get to that fuel window here as hard as these guys are racing for the lead. We've had some really good racing, and let's say this will feel like Auto Club 2.0 to you, Andrew. Is the exit of turn 2, that has definitely been the trouble turn for a lot of drivers. Just the way it flattens out, it's a slower turn, and we've seen drivers really kind of, as that track opens up or flattens out, I guess I should say, it's really easy for them to kind of kiss the wall for 4. And we'll actually pull it up here one more time to show everybody here as they come out of 4 to show just how some of these drivers are getting right to the absolute edge of the wall and exit.
More than kissing in some cases.
Oh yeah, and then some.
I think that you mentioned Craig Forsyth just sitting outside the top 10 right now. He is definitely one of those guys that is playing the fuel game, which you mentioned on most of these broadcasts here. Another thing to keep in mind here is that if he is saving the fuel that he needs, just kind of hanging out towards the back of the top 10, he's actually going to have a shorter stop. So even if he's like 2 seconds back, two or 2.5 seconds back, he might have a shorter pit stop, which could springboard him towards the front of this pack race here. But again, these guys that are holding the white line towards the front, they're going to really have some sort of advantage when they get to the point where they can hold that line and not be passed very easily.
Yeah, I'm going to hop on board with Al Morera right now because he's in the thick of this thing. We just saw how close it was between Eric Schaus and Raphael Eckert there. And actually, I would say also looking at the gearing you saw there, he's actually dropping it all the way down to 4th gear through turns 1 and 2. And really doesn't look like I'm seeing a lot of 6th gear being used out of these cars. But yeah, you're spot on though there as well, Andrew. Like I said, with saving the fuel here, like you said, it's going to shorten that pit stop because, again, these guys don't have to worry about green-white checkers. They can just go straight and basically say, I need the fuel number to get to lap 25 and no further. Obviously, you got to kind of account for your drafting laps versus what you could be running flat out to make sure you don't kind of sell yourself short. But yeah, so it looks like that's the case right here because at this point the fuel window is open. These drivers could pit from here to make it to the end, but yeah, like you said, I think the pace of the race being faster with the draft, and then of course not wanting to get trapped any laps down here. I think that's why we're seeing these guys staying after it like they are.
Have you guys talked about the different profiles of turn 1 and 2 versus 3 and 4?
Yes, yeah. So yeah, with the reconfiguration,
Craig is actually jumping in the pits right now as we speak.
All right, so Craig is actually going completely off strategy. I wouldn't say off strategy, but I really thought he would actually be the one to try to go longer than everybody. So this will be the first. This will be fun to see what he does, and then do we see any reaction from them? Because again, this is a gamble for Craig. It could be a good risk first ward. He will go a lap down, but he's also going to potentially have some really nice track clean air to work with here.
I think he's also going to take less fuel, just as I mentioned before. The fact that he was hanging out towards the back of the pack, just kind of probably lifting going into turns 3 and 4 in particular, where there's a little more banking there. He could have a shorter stop, and as long as he exits the pits cleanly, which it looks like he just did, he might be in a good spot, but he needs to pray that there's no more yellows that'll infiltrate and ruin his race now that he's let down.
Yeah, and that's the danger is exactly that, because it's also a very difficult pit exit as well. And I mean, all pit entries and exits with these cars are difficult, but it's a really narrow pit entry, or exit, I should say. I'm sorry. So it's going to be really intriguing here. So Quabi, I'll bring you back on this one because let's say we talked about fuel mileage. Maybe some drivers that were going to try to one stop. It actually looks like Andrew McMurray's now hit pit road as well. So we're starting to see a couple trickle on, but Craig the first of those that were really in that main lead pack right off the bat. So, but yeah, so Quabi, at this point, are you leading the same thing as what Andrew's mentioning? Do you want to run this thing as far out as you can and just maybe catch him off guard with a caution?
Yeah, I think the risk, like, so Craig is exactly a lap and a half down right now, and maybe he saves some fuel and save a couple seconds in the pit stop. But if a caution comes out, Andrew said his race is ruined, and like these are the first green flag pit stops so this is actually uncharted territory for this race. So I would stay out.
Another thing to mention as well is that Craig is by himself. He's not in any draft right now where he actually might be able to get some time back. If he's running by himself, he's not running as fast laps as the guys in the front pack are. Because even if you're the leader, you're still being kind of pushed by the cars behind. So I think those guys up front still are running faster lap times than what Craig is doing right now. So every lap where there's no one around him, he's kind of losing time. So you can see that he just did a 24.7, and the guys up front are all doing 24.8. Yeah, it looks like about the same actually. So maybe the front guys aren't running as fast in the pack as they are expected to.
Yeah, actually, it looks like the leaders just dropped out of the 25s.
Yeah, and it looks like Craig has someone he's working with, so he may not be in bad shape after all, especially if the leaders do lose a little more pace. He might actually undercut them.
Yeah, this next lap will be the telltale, because once Craig completes this lap and starts the next one, this will be a complete non-draft lap for Craig. So this is what I really want to see, because I'll say this time by he ran a 24.86, which is still just about a tenth and a half quicker than the leaders. But now, though, I think he still had a little bit of draft off the 69 car. So now I really do want to see, non-draft versus draft, what Craig can do. And like I said, again, he's still got to hope and pray and that everybody kind of minds their P's and Q's, as Jim Herrick actually just hit pit road there in the 40 car. So, yeah, like I said, they're slowly but surely kind of working their way down in here. And this time Craig is a 24.88. So actually still a little quicker than the lead. So it's this time about 2:10. So this, again, he's the planets kind of have to line here, but this could pan out for him.
It looks like the top four have kind of broken away from the pack a little bit as well. I'm not sure if there was a mistake from one of the guys in the middle of the top 10 there, but the top four are completely gone. Alan Morera now is kind of left completely outside the draft. So this is going to be the most interesting part of the race here. The last pit stop, you don't want to mess anything up. If you have a faster pit stop, you could probably move up about a second and a half, 2 seconds or so. And if not, then you'll be in the back. So it's a very crucial pit stop coming up for some of these top guys.
Yeah, and I think at this point the window's pretty much about to open for everybody. We just saw Bruno Miranda hit pit road. Again, I mean, we know Nick is protecting the inside line as well, but I think some of this protection is going to also be for getting ready to make his pit stop. And this is where things get really a little dicey too. We saw there it wasn't tight, but it looked closer than comfort though. As you see the teammates here, Edson Santos, Rafael Eckert, got a perfect little team photo up here if they want to for a future screenshot. But yeah, so it's going to be interesting. Sheridan Wayne's now on pit road, so a lot of drivers are now hitting pit road. But this is where these drivers, they got to call their pits out with enough time for these drivers to react, because, I mean, we've seen Edson, he kind of tries to peek down a little bit, steal a little bit of draft off of Nick on exit. So when Nick pits, if they can go further, they got to make sure that they're not trying to draft off him as he starts to slow down, because that's where you're going to have a really bad time.
I believe Nick is pitting right now, and I wanted to mention, this is the most dangerous part of the strategy, is stopping for the pit lane. You don't want to touch the apron the wrong way, get a little bit sideways, and then cause a yellow, because the Craig Forsyths out there that have pitted early are definitely going to be put in a spot where, now that they're a lap down, they're not going to have a good rest of the race. So it's very important that all these guys make their pit stops cleanly and they call out their stops. So now that Nick is pitted, I'm pretty sure that you're going to see the other top guys pit very soon.
Yeah, so I think Nick pretty much ran that thing dry, because, again, he was leading for most of that run. So this is where Rafael Eckert, Eric Schaus, Alan Morera, they'd probably been saving fuel off the back. So this is where they're saying, you know what, let's run this thing out. If we get a yellow from someone making a mistake on entry, on exit, we're going to jump a bunch of cars. And so I think right now it's gone all the way now to Brad Adams is the last guy who's yet to pit. And so, again, I got to wait and see where Craig comes out. And actually, here he comes. He's going to roll out right behind Nick and Edson. Again, they pitted from first and second. Craig was a couple seconds back of them. And Actually, now the whole field is in minus Eric Schaus, which also not surprising to say. Eric is really, really good on fuel.
It looks like that the guys that were running together kind of found each other. Even Craig Forsyth has picked up a few spots. As you remember, he was running just outside the top. Chris Stouffer is just outside the draft range, and I think if the guys kind of file out in between Craig and Chris, Chris will catch right back up again. So, yeah, we got a nice run to the finish here where some of the guys are going to find each other, and it'll be a pack race right to the end.
And this is right now, if you're Eric Schaus, you never want to root for a caution, but you're like, man, if someone can make a mistake right now, I'd be really grateful. But as I say that, he's on pit road for his final stop. And so now we got to see where he cycles out in relation, because now you're going to see all that ticker and the timing and scoring. Right now everybody's -1, and here they all pop in -33, 32, and so on. So pretty much he had the entire field there a lap down, and you never know if and when a caution could fly that could have just completely upended the complexion of tonight's race.
It's pretty wild watching these guys go through turn 1 and 2. They don't know what line to run. And as I've mentioned on previous races, it's all about trying to find the clean air. The clean air is king. If you can find the most optimal line that guys ahead of you are kind of choosing wrong, that's exactly how you get right back into this. And I'm watching Chris Stouffer right now. He's running very high in turn 1 and 2. I think he's going to try to catch up to Craig and the top guys just by running a totally different line to them.
Yeah, so now with the pit sequence completed here, so that's a full green flag pit stop. So first off, shout outs to the drivers, because that's very difficult to do at these tracks. So now it's who's pitted when and who's maybe got slightly better tires. Nick DeGroot, Edson Santos, they are on par. They both pitted at lap 100 on the dot. Craig Forsyth, he pitted at lap 87, so he's got about 13 lap older tires. Again, some of that in some cleaner air, so maybe not abusing it as badly. You mentioned Chris Stouffer. He pitted about 4 laps before Nick and Edson, so he pitted at 96. And then you go to Raphael Eckert, Eric Schaus pitting at 102, 104. And as I say that, Raphael just put down the fast lap of the race, 24:41. But yeah, right now, like you said, though, we've still pretty much got everybody back to, I want to say, well, I'm going to wait for I think probably to Jim Herrick realistically can get back into this main pack of the draft here.
Woo! That was a Bruno Miranda almost ran Matt Wagner over in turn 3 and 4. That was a very close one. I'm not sure how that didn't result in a bigger wreck. But watch these guys go through 1 and 2 if you want to put that camera back up again, because those guys are all going high. And if you're trying to find a clean run and take the white line around the corners, that's not the way to do it. So it looks like that these guys are starting to break up a tiny bit in the very front, but in the bottom part of the top 10, these guys are all running different lines through 1 and 2.
Yeah, you can see everybody's running really top there, like you said. And, there's one right there. Andrew McMurray, just saw him get a pretty good piece of it there, but stayed pointing in the right direction, but he definitely caught that thing with the right side. But I was about to mention, though, also is Nick DeGroot was working on traffic, and I think you see William Swenson, he's just trying to roll out of the way, just trying to basically let these guys race out to the finish again. I get, again, just massive shout out, because you don't want to affect others' races, but at the same time you don't want to pull over and let these guys by either. So it's definitely not an easy one to say, all right, this isn't my night, let me let these guys go after it. So props to him for that. But right now though, say Nick's gonna be in for it here, because he's going to have 2 teammates now just about to line up on him here in just another couple laps there. Say Raphael Eckert, I mean, he's around the 3rd or 4th line here in that 64 car.
Yeah, I could say that Nick is putting on a masterclass right now. He is not going off that white line whatsoever. So Edson has his hands full. He has his work cut out for him to try and find a way by. It looks like the white line is king here, and Nick is one of those guys that once he gets the white line, that's it. He's not going to be passed at all. So Edson's got a lot of work, so we'll keep an eye on that for sure. But Eckert, Schaus, and Stouffer are all right in the path there. So anything can really happen here in these last 13, 14 laps or so.
Yeah, I was saying Schaus has been creeping up. Again, Schaus is the last one to pit, so he does have the freshest tires. Again, only by 4 laps over Edson and Nick. But also Eckert here, he pitted at 102, so also 2 laps older than Eric, but 2 laps fresher than the 2 in front of him. So of course, you're going to use and abuse them a little bit as you try to catch back up to the field. But right now, it does look like it's probably going to be about a 4 or 5 horse race the way it's looking at the moment. I think Craig, again, he's short pitted, tried to make a gamble. Maybe not. I think it's still gaining him net track position here, but maybe not be the race winning move, unfortunately. But I like the gamble that he made there. Oh man,
Ooh, very close.
But here's the thing, though. Like I said, now Nick's going to be working against some teammates here because, again, I really don't expect to see Raphael fight Edson. I think he's going to do what he can to try to help his teammate, and also again just to try to make it harder on Nick. But while they both jump to the top, Eric's like, all right, you leave the bottom open. I'm going to try to take it here, as he's going to jump down to the inside in that 72 car just alongside the 064. But look at these guys dicing. I mean,
all the
that's
way down to the white line. It's so close. And I mean, Eric Schaus is one of those guys that if you leave any inch of track open, he is going to take it. And as you can see, he is really going for the lead. So I feel like Eric is actually going to be the guy that tries his best to outsmart Nick here once he finds the correct line.
Sorry, I heard you key up there, Quabby.
Oh, I said 10 to go, and it's going to go by fast.
Yeah. And so, yeah, the other thing to mention, of course, is there are no green-white checkers here within these series. So, basically, once you get within about 3-4 to go, that could be it. So, there's no waiting till the last lap to make the move because you don't know when the last lap could be. And remember, I mentioned Stouffer as being one of those ones that still had a chance. He kind of rolled out a little bit, but with these guys dicing like they have, it's rolled him right back into it. And yeah, it looks like
a lap car up ahead too as well.
And that could change a lot, yeah.
That could change a lot. Hopefully he moves out of the way, is a little courteous. But yeah, as you mentioned, Stouffer is right in this mix now, and he let Eric Schaus go up there and mix it up. Now Stouffer might have some tires in order to try and get himself into the conversation for a win here. Yeah,
and you see right there, Seth has gone as far as he could there to the top there, and man, Nick DeGroot is just using him for all he can here to help his own cause. But yeah, you can see, though, that Seth is just trying to get to that third lane, just like, go on by, guys. I know what you guys are going after. So he's still trying to get, just a little kiss there for Raphael up in the wall there as well. But
these guys are giving it everything they can, 2x2, down all the straightaways. But I really do think that white line is king right now, just how I've seen it race thus far. I think that Nick is going to be very hard to go after. As you see, they go 3 wide into 3, actually, with a lot of momentum.
And I think that's where right now Raphael's trying to figure out, Edson, I should say, is okay, where can I position my car to get the run on Nick to then have the potential to try to get this win from him out of turn 4 coming to the checkered. You know you're going to have help, probably not an actual push, but almost that air push, if you will, from Raphael's trying to stay as tight to him as he can. But again, I do think, though, that Eric and Chris will be the potential spoilers of this, as you see. Now, Eric's trying to, I think Eric wants to get to the top because he tried the bottom. It didn't work. You see almost stacked up right there in front of Chris. But I think he's like, okay, the bottom doesn't work, so I just get all that dirty air off of Nick. What do I do?
It's tough from here. I have to admit. It seems like there really is no clear lane to go on the inside. You have to really try and outsmart Nick from the middle and try and tuck in underneath right at the exit of 2 where he leaves the bottom open a tiny bit, enough where you could fit a car in there. But if you do that, you'll have no speed down the back straightaway. So it's very tough in this situation. You have to pin them down and just hope for the best.
Yeah, it's going to be a big risk versus reward, which is unfortunately at Las Vegas last week with the netcode the way it was. Oh, was I saying that? Oh, and there was the risk versus reward, and unfortunately the risk did not pan out. You mentioned if Eric saw the slightest of gaps, he'd go for it. Unfortunately, did not make it through that one. Caution is out, and that will probably end the race there with that yellow. We'll go back. We'll take a closer look at it. But yeah, I think it's exactly what we said. I think Eric saw for just that split second, say, this is my gap. I got to go for it. And unfortunately, it looks like it just did not happen in time. So we'll watch here as we come out of turn 4. And I mean, that was the gamble. Is like, where do you put your car? And I think he saw that window and just unfortunately closed before he got to it. Or maybe it was netcode.
I think Eric had more speed than he thought he actually had. And
actually looks like
he kind of misjudged exactly where the cars were going to be right on the right side of him. So it was one of those things where he had a lot of speed and he's like, oh no, where do I go from here? That's my take on it.
Yeah, almost looked like he had to make an abrupt change there because it looked like he was going to get into the back of Nick there, and I think he maybe had to turn off to the right a little bit. And then just unfortunate heartbreaker for the two teammates here, the 20 and the 064. Christopher will benefit. He'll sneak all the way up now into that third, I think into that second position. I'm sorry. And I'm waiting for everything to update here because I believe, I'll say, and actually we'll jump back live because the white flag is out. For a moment, I thought Craig was actually showing in third spot, but it looks like he's actually fallen to fifth. So it looks like top three are going to be, again, no green, white checkers here, so this is how it's going to finish. But it will be Nick DeGroot getting the win here over Christopher, Bruno Miranda, and then Alan Moreira, Craig Forsyth going to round out our top five. But it just, as hard as they were racing, it did unfortunately just feel like it was going to be a matter of when, not if, unfortunately.
Yeah, that was really good, tight racing for many laps, and it's a shame that it ended that way. But I can't fault the drivers. And yeah, totally. There was there was a hole maybe, but I think it was evasive action, and there was a lane for a moment to basically get out of harm's way, and then it didn't exist for any amount of time.
Yeah, I'm kind of watching that wreck again, and from Craig's point of view, as he sees just smoke in the distance, and it really just it's one of those things where there's just smoke across the whole track. So you have to kind of like throw yourself in there a little bit and take the middle line and hope that everyone just kind of pans out on either side.
Yeah, it was unfortunate to say it was tight, not the way they wanted to have it happen, obviously, but like you said, though, Nick, he held that white line to perfection, made that really big move as well prior to the pit stops to be able to go to the lead with that big move through the tri-oval. So I say, but yeah, so Nick was able to get the win. Again, this is a big win for Nick as well because, again, he was 24 points out of the lead going into tonight's race behind Bruno, who'd missed a couple. Again, they did have the 2 drop weeks, and so right now Bruno, I think he's missed 2 races, so those are his 2. Whereas Nick, I think, has had 8 starts with 7 of those races counting. So this will close that gap up a little tighter. Christopher as well getting second. He'll pull him in as well, just a little closer as well. As we'll see if he can't quite nail the landing there. As I say, that car will now unfortunately no longer pass 10. So while we watch him celebrate, we'll pull up our final results before we get to those interviews. As it will be Nick DeGroot getting the win here over Christopher, Bruno Miranda, Alan Moreira, Craig Forsyth. Matt Wagner going to bring home 6th after the win last week. Yari Brupacher, Jim Herrick. Gary Laverne got those 2 laps back, brings it all the way back up into 9th. So great job by him not giving up and still being able to get a solid result. Dan Moreira there rounding out our top 10. Then Raphael Eckert, Sheridan Wade, Andrew McMurray, Eric Schaus, Brad Adams, Seth Groover, William Swenson, and Bill Cawley, the first cars 1 lap down. And then unfortunately in that incident, Edson Santos winds up 3 down at the end. And then early retirements we mentioned of Michael Creo, Michael Creo and Nate Fields, AJ Hobson as well. And then unfortunately not able to make the race tonight were Eric Peterson and Taylor Reeves. All right, so with that, we got to chat with some drivers. I will see if usually sometimes Bruno comes in, sometimes he's got a person to help with the interviews, but either way, we'll keep an eye out for him. But what we will do is we'll kick it off with Mr. Christopher. So let me get his info all pulled up here so we can look professional. All right, let's find Chris and grab him over. So we're going a little bit out of order. Like I said, we'll hopefully grab Bruno here as well, but we're going to pull in our runner-up tonight, Christopher. And, well, Chris, you were one of the 5 that were in that pack to go for the win there at the end. And luckily you were able to just sneak by there to be able to grab the runner-up after I'm sure what was a pretty wild one in front of you there. But, I mean, take us through the race because it was obviously – couple yellows early on, didn't get the green flag pit stop, but then that final run to the end, then you get that long green run, make the green flag pit stop. A lot of variation of how early or late do you pit. I mean, what was your game plan there? I mean, how tricky was it to make that decision?
I think the decision at the end, it was a gamble because you're going to go a lap down when you pit. So it was kind of like I knew where I was before I pit. I think I was like eighth or something like that. That with the tires being worn down, having just, I mean, a gob of cars in front of me, there was no clean air on that I could find on the track. So all I could do is the only other option I really had was try to undercut him, and luckily I was able to do that. And the caution did not come out. We got through the green flag pit stops, and it shook out there at the end that I think I came out sixth, and I passed Craig, got fifth. He pitted well before me, so I knew he had a little bit more worn tires. He said, come on by, being a teammate and all, and then yeah, they're at the closing laps. There was really no clean air I could find. Um, I tried to get a run high. I tried to go low. It was ending up like I kind of told myself, well, it looks like I'm going to finish fifth unless something happens, and something did happen, and I ended up second. So I'm not going to complain about that.
Chris, did you ever feel like there was a period of time in the race where you thought that maybe if you saved enough fuel that you'd have a shorter final pit stop there? Because it seemed like you weren't in the actual front pack. You were kind of hanging out towards the middle there. So did you feel like that if you just kind of hung back a little bit and didn't try your best to wear your tires out and waste all the fuel, that you would actually be able to come out ahead?
Um, well, not on that last stop because we all could make it. I think when we went green on lap 70, it was a one stop from there. So, I think we're all going to have to put in about the same amount of fuel. But, throughout the race, yes, early on, I was just riding because I wanted to make a certain fuel number, and wasn't trying to push it. And I was also trying to do my best to save tires. I'm notorious, especially at this type of track where, turn 1 and 2 is very long and flat. There's still plenty of banking, but it's I have a tendency to burn up the tires and overdrive the car. So I was trying to do my best to not burn up the right front, and I figured that might pay off for me at the end of a run. Um, Unfortunately, we had yeah, that first caution that came out was a net code, and I went back and looked at it. The stewards can look at it themselves. You guys looked at it too. I'm pretty sure you do a good job of reviewing the recs and everything. I thought there was some net code there. It's very unfortunate because it took out like 8 cars. I felt very bad for that, and because of that, I was driving a little bit more cautiously throughout the rest of the race and not making taking chances I might normally would have. But it was a very difficult race overall. Trying to keep it off the turn two wall, trying to find clean air, get through 1 and 2. So yeah.
Well, like I said, I mean, obviously the short pit strategy worked out really, really well for you there to like I said, to kind of get you right back in the thick of things. And I mean, yeah, I'd say obviously still got a little bit of time to go in the season. Got, I believe it's 2 more after this with Loudon, New Hampshire, followed by Indianapolis. So, I mean, you still can't count yourself out of this one. Obviously, when we look at drop weeks and things of that nature, you have made all 10 races that we've had so far this season. So, once all the drop weeks are said and done, that could definitely play a big role in kind of where you end up after that. So, still a lot to race for in these last 2. So definitely looking forward to seeing what you have for them. But definitely want to give you the floor though here for any thanks and shout out for that runner up tonight.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, hopefully, I can finally figure out how to win one of these races this season. I finished second um, all the time. Seems like I'm always, finishing second. Which isn't bad. I guess I could finish second from here on out, and mathematically somehow I might be able to win the championship, and I'll take that. But going into the last couple races, it's just going to be just try to finish as best I can. Indianapolis is its own beast, along with Loudon. Um, but as far as shout outs, go to 40racewear.com. If you're looking for any sim racing gear, they got boots, gloves, other apparel there. 40racewear.com. Thank you to you guys up here in the booth. I appreciate you guys coming out. You do a good job of the broadcast, Matt, for putting on the league. It's a lot of fun out here, week in and week out. He takes a lot of feedback from the drivers and tries to provide us the best racing possible. So, I appreciate that. And wife and kids, thank you for allowing me to race, honey. I know I need to go do some adulting now. So with that, I bid you adieu, and thank you. Hopefully we'll see you next week.
All right, man. Good luck the rest of the way, Chris. And yeah, go be an adult.
That's right. Parenting time.
All right, so we're going to switch it now from our runner-up to our race winner, and that is going to be none other than Mr. Nick DeGroot. And so Andrew Quabi, I'm going to give him a 10 on the protecting the bottom line there for that last bit of the race after the pit stops. I'm going to probably give about a 3 for the grass slide there, Nick. I can't give you too high. I'm sorry.
I'm surprised I got a 3. That was embarrassing. That was not what I had in mind. Oh man!
But at least he'll pass tech now.
Yeah, exactly. They told him to make sure the front wing came off, but don't tell anybody that. But I'll tell you, it may look like you're just holding the bottom here. There's a lot more going on at this track. It demands 100% of your attention 100% of the time, because turn 1 and 2 are so different from 3 and 4. And of course, the quad over, there's so many opportunities for a car to get underneath you if you're not paying close enough attention. You saw Edson, he caught me sleeping one time on the backstretch. You have to be in it all the time, or you're going to lose that lead very quick. And I lost it the one time. I was real mad at myself. And I don't know if you guys saw the pass I made from third to first on the front stretch on like lap 80, but I was driving mad at that point. I'm like, man, you cost yourself the lead. You better go get it back.
Oh, you saw that.
And on that final pit stop, I lost the lead too. I don't know if in the cycle you were looking at us, but Edson actually beat me out of the pits. But I was just able to get up to speed more on the apron. I actually passed him on the backstretch after we exited the pit. So I had a couple moments there where it slipped away from me and I was able to pull it back.
Yeah, that's a question I want to ask you there, Nick, is it seemed like you were kind of hogging that white line pretty well. So to hear you say that you made a few mistakes, we didn't see it up in the booth. How hard was it to actually keep the white line going the whole time? Because as someone who's done this before, finding these tracks where you could just hug the white line, how hard was it actually to stay down there and keep your position through the whole time?
In the second to last run coming to the final pit stops, I was abusing the weight jacker too much, and it caught up to me at the end of the run. Thankfully, I think they were doing it as well, but I was really struggling turn 1 and 2. They were getting right up alongside me down the backstretch. At one point, we were three wide dead even, I think, just a couple laps before the pit stops. And I'm like, I better get to pit road because these tires aren't going to last much longer. And I looked at them afterwards, and yeah, they did not have much life left in them, especially the right front. But that was the name of the game. Always is at Texas. You just got to hold that bottom the best you can. It's the key to winning, like a lot of mile and a halves, but it's a lot harder than a lot of these other mile and a halves, like Vegas and Kansas. And at the end there, I was just like, hold the bottom. Don't focus on them. I kept wanting to watch their battle and see what was happening, but I had to keep focus and make sure I wasn't going to get hit or give up the bottom. And when Schaus was coming that run, I thought he was going to go to my inside. So I was getting ready to go all the way to the apron if need be to defend it. And instead he tried to shoot the middle, and fortunately it went wrong there for everybody.
I think one of those tough things is like, especially your move from third to first, which we did catch. It just seems to be one of those situations where you can put yourself down there on the white line, but if you're able to kind of hold it through the middle and the exit is a whole nother story. So let's talk about that actual move there. Did you feel like you actually had the pass completed, or did you think that you were going to kind of push up from the white line there and possibly ruin your run down the back straightaway?
Yeah, one thing I was very careful about in that race, and even while doing that pass, I had it in my mind. You're going to have a lot of extra speed entering this corner if this works. So give it up on entry. It's always better to give up more on entry so you don't sacrifice the exit. Because if you sacrifice the exit and you have to let out of the throttle there, you're not just going to lose speed down the backstretch. You're going to lose speed through 3 and 4. You're going to lose it on the frontage. You're going to lose speed for 3/4 of the lap. So it is much better conservative on entry, even if you're slower, just so you can nail that exit. And thankfully, I don't think I ever missed that exit during the race, because that would have been costly.
Well, say now we go to the point side of things because we got 2 to go, and you're creeping in there. Say now it's only 8 points between you and Bruno for the final 2 races. I mean, obviously I know you want to win, you want to get the best you can, but I mean, do you now start kind of eyeballing where Bruno is on track throughout the race, or I mean, what's the strategy going into these final 2?
I was making the mistake earlier this season of focusing on what Bruno was doing instead of what I was doing, and it cost me a few times. I tripped over myself, so I've moved away from that. I'm just going to do the best I can do. He'll do the best he can do, and where he finishes and where I finish, we'll let the dice fall where they do. And I will say, though, I did have it in my mind at the end of that race. I'm like, I knew all those cars that just wrecked were not Bruno, so I really would appreciate it if they didn't, because that was just a few free spots for him, but that's just how it goes sometimes.
Well, it'll be fun to see you guys battle it out to the end. But yeah, congrats again, though, on the win. Before we let you go, definitely want to give you the floor for any thanks and shouts for that win this evening.
Oh, yeah. As always, thank you, everybody at Factory Back Motorsports, from our great partners at Canvas Shoes, KilbyMoore.com, Motorsport.com. And we recently added a new sponsor, a Southwestern restaurant chain, Los Polos Hermanos. Happy to have them on the car, and glad we get them a win in their first race.
Well, I'll say they're going to say, be careful. They're going to keep wanting more of them, but I'm sure you'll be happy to oblige. But no, great job, though, tonight, Nick, and looking forward to seeing you the final couple races, man.
Thank you, guys. Looking forward to it.
All right, and we have one special edition interview because we got to talk to this man right here, and that is Mr. Bill Colley, because we didn't get to interview him last week after his podium at Las Vegas, and he spent a lot of time getting his microphone all squared away, and I think some of the admins were working with him. And Bill, obviously not the night you're hoping for tonight, but I mean, still though, I mean, kind of a sister track, if you will, to some extent with Vegas. But I mean, how was I said we'll go to that race first. Let's say, how was that race, kind of getting that podium and kind of maybe knocking that monkey off your shoulders a little bit?
I thought I was going to finish 5th. Because I was going to stay on the bottom, stay behind those first guys on the bottom, and there was a crash in front of me. Just pretty good finish. There's tough guys.
Yeah, these guys are kind of monsters for the most part in this series, and I mean, I feel like I've gotten to race with you some, and obviously got to broadcast, so I see a lot of what you do over the course of the seasons, and I mean, I feel like you've kind of I watched the progression of you kind of get to comfortable with these cars, and then from there it's then making like, okay, now I'm gonna be more aggressive or whatever those things may be, holding, and I feel like, yeah, it's just one of those things, like the more seasons you've had with us here, like it feels like the more you've kind of been gaining and improving. And is that something that you've been noticing as well? Is that something, like, are there certain things like I want to accomplish these things this race this season, or I mean, how do you take your mindset through these?
That kind of depends on what track I'm on. Some of these tracks are a lot easier to me. And like tonight, I thought I had it figured out. I come from 23rd to 14th, and I smacked the wall, and the car was done from then.
Would it have happened to be out of turn 2?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think I did it 4 times.
You were not the LA one, Bill. Don't feel bad.
Hey, Bill, do you think that your progression through what you've been doing in this series, like, have you learned how to save fuel? Have you learned how to put yourself in a spot where you can put yourself forward going during the race?
That's my main problem. I try to save fuel every race, and it bites me sometimes.
Oh, it kind of pulls you too far off the back, maybe?
Yeah, I lose the draft.
And I mean, but I think, Andres, you could probably speak for this too. I think that's that balance you try to find is okay. Obviously, we can throw map 5. You go full fuel save, but then, like I said, it maybe either pulls you off the draft or puts you potentially in a bad situation where some guys are full rich or whatever. Like, so maybe it's finding that kind of that happy balance in between, to find the balance of it. Because I know, like, a lot of guys I've seen initially tried just fuel saving on map 1. with a lot of throttle control, and I could never do that. I had to use the built-in maps in the car to do it myself.
Yeah, I know somebody once told, I think it was somebody in the league, I can't remember who it was, said if fuel map 5, if you stay on it flat out, it's not the same as saving on fuel map 3 and lifting. So
yeah, you have a situation where you have to actually put yourself in a spot to try and take your foot off the throttle a little bit to try and save it middle of the corner and then get out of it on exit. And it's definitely an art. The whole fuel saving situation is an art, and the more you do it, the more you find yourself putting yourself in a spot where you actually can lower your fuel number for a longer period of time rather than just being out there by yourself. So yeah, it's one of those things that you can figure it out later on down the line.
I've won some other races on the the regular site by fuel saving. I run my own fuel runs through map 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to see what I could do flat out. And sometimes you get on them sites and I'm thinking, why ain't these guys pitting? And then I end up beating them on fuel.
Yeah, you need someone to help you for sure. So it's something you'll learn over time, I think. It's not a very easy thing to do. So once you race these cars enough, you'll understand when you get behind a whole bunch of people that you can't pass. That's the time that you need to kind of lift off the throttle a little bit to save fuel, as long as you stay in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but now, like I said, obviously tonight wasn't the ideal one for you, but like I said, you still got 2 more to go in the season. But like I said, we want to definitely be able to pull in your interview after last week's podium. As I honestly, I was like, Matt's like, oh yeah, Gal and Bill have a date. I was like, what? And I forget what I had for lunch yesterday, kind of a situation for me. But no, Bill, again, I mean, amazing job, like I said, last week getting that podium. As I say, it's always been fun watching you racing the series. But we definitely want to give you the floor, though, for any thanks and shouts for that podium you had last week at Vegas, man.
All right. Thank you, guys. Yeah, it was fun. Fun finally getting to race up front.
We definitely looking forward to see more of it from you. I say Loudon will be its own animal next week. I'm nervous for that one for myself. I'd say, and then of course Indy. So it should be a lot of fun seeing you over there too, man. So good luck the rest of the way, and definitely stay safe with all the weather and storms in your area, man. Hope everything's gonna be okay.
Yeah, they've went through. The news is off. So it was off from like 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that, man. So yeah,
I had a tornado 20 miles south of me. So
all right, well, yeah, you keep staying safe then, man. All right.
All right. Everybody else, thanks everybody.
Have a good one.
All right, so that was Bill Colley. So we wanted to pull him in. Obviously, we weren't able to interview him last week after his Las Vegas podium. Say microphone difficulties, but definitely wanted to give him some of his well-deserved kind of shout-outs and all that as well. And yeah, so unfortunately we weren't able to get an interview with Bruno. He had to step away and kind of had to do the same thing as Chris there, had to go do some adulting. So, but yeah, so it's like I said, Chris is still on the outside looking in, but right now, and again, if Bruno and Nick, if they focus on each other too much, I think Chris could definitely swoop in and try to snag a couple good points out of them in these final 2 races and make it a 3-horse race.
It's a very close championship every time. There's no one that's a clear winner as we go into the final couple of races. So I think we're in a spot where we could see a very close battle going into the final race, and it's going to be wild to watch the whole thing unfold.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. So yes, I'm glad you got your stuff squared away, Andrew. It's good to have you. It's good to have your input here at the end, because I said, I know you know your stuff way better than I do. Quabi, definitely also appreciate you hopping out short notice as well. And then, so everybody that was watching, support us here on Green White Checkered. Say, Mama Groover, hope you start feeling better as well. Papa, if you are or were watching, definitely hope you're feeling better soon too. I'll definitely look forward to getting you back up into the cars as well with these. So that'll do it for us tonight. I will be back on Thursday night calling the Xfinity Series. Boomer's got some real life racing he's going to be working on, so good luck to him. I'm excited to see how that goes for him. And yeah, like I said, really, really appreciate everybody with the support. I say we got just a few more weeks, and then somehow we're going to be crowning some champions here in just a few weeks' time. So, but yeah, again, thank you guys, appreciate it, and look forward to seeing you all here in a couple nights' time. So until then, take care, stay safe, have a good night, and we'll see you all on Thursday.